times. I really apologize about this. Now I could go back to drinking my hot cappuccino. So interruption. The AC guy came out. Everything is fine. We got everything up and running. Down here and stuff. People got their live chat. This is not to take anything away from them. You can always watch this in the reruns, right? Someone else and keep the engineers doing them good, because they are an iconic company. You know, they have been driving force with Boss, with MXR since, so it's going to be really heartbreaking to see them go out of business. Hello again, Jim Geetrid. Thank you, my friend. I really apologize about the interruption, my friends. It was I'll tell you what, I'd be sitting on a gold mine if I ever want to get back into the HVAC industry. Holy crap. I could be able to buy the. I would never price gouge. When we were up in Illinois doing this work, we never price gouged anybody. I do not believe in that. I could live humbly. I'm comfortable with that. You know, my wife's comfortable with that. Anything I do is because if my wife wanted something, she's number one in my book, right? But we don't want to take advantage of people and piss over people and step over people to get up to play king of the hill. I don't believe in that. No, man. I put my drawers down one leg at a time. I'm just like everybody else. So, but anyways, getting back with Digitech, it'd be nice to see them bounce back, and if something does happen, maybe. And one of our lessons, he was saying that sometimes this is what happens. People talk, and it's no different than you lose your job, right? You go knocking on the door, whatever you're going to go to that for that area of employment, and then seek out the work. And if a person's smart, they're going to see your trend, say, hey, let's hire this guy or let's hire this gal. There's a lot out there, even in the construction and the engineering. The intellect doesn't pick an age, gender, or a race. Brain is in between the left and right here. Oh, which way you're looking at this, because it might be backwards, right? So, yeah, we hope that Digitech can survive, or the engineers could come up with something great. Now, what I wanted to talk about was the RP series. From the RP 350, which I have, the RP 500. I can't remember if my RP has this function in there or not, because I still have it. But I know that function in there called play your, and it is like an octave divider, but much more stronger. So when you run that through any type of amplifier, especially a 12-inch PA, but even my little Yamaha with the little 3-inch speakers, you will feel bottom end like there's a bass guitar there. And what's real crucial about that is if you are doing a one-man band show, or you got hired to do a corporate event, or you got hired to do, like we did last week, a cocktail hour, then hey, everybody. And it also works with my nylon string guitars as well, which I think is great. Now, the statement I'm going to say is not to knock anybody, but what I don't understand is, unless I have not seen this, and maybe I could be wrong, guys. The Helix, I think, is a great unit. If anyone wants to buy the Helix, you got the money, go for it. Because, man, Helix, Fractal, 11 rack, the counter, they do sound killer, So I'm not trying to take anything away from them. But I find it very strange Digitech comes up with this idea to have this bass that's more than an octave down or 2 octaves down. It's actually like a bass guitar. And it's almost as if for us people who are creative and we can improvise and we get, we do the one-man band show or whatever. It's almost as if there was someone listening to us out there, and they came up with this idea, put it in a package, and it's not ridiculously expensive. And it just works, man. It just absolutely works. And the amount of gigs that we have done, I've never had problems with these, unless it's error operator, or if I dropped something or something happened or it fell. I mean, things happen. But as far as it coming from the factory flawed, should take a good look at this and say, hey, options that musicians have for gigging, and which is what I originally said in one of my ads about Digitech and options and gigs, because not everything's a big stage, and surprisingly, the big stage costs more money to actually run. So therefore, you have to so you can pay everybody. Otherwise, it's a break-even deal, and then it becomes exposure. So I'm not knocking it, but what I'm saying is, musician, I'm alive again. You are alive. Yeah, we get stormy weather down here, so sometimes things can happen like that. But what I was gonna say, um, the average musician that is working is going to get the gigs, whether they're doing a farmer's market, a hire-on, or the club circuit. And down here in Southwest Florida, it is different compared to Illinois. Down here, I got clubs calling me, and they're paying. And I'm so thankful for them. I hope they have decades of they could pass it on to their family, because they're so nice and they're so good to me. And not just me, but the other musicians, and that's what I like to see: fairness in all sectors, because it's something I strongly believe in. I have a hard time trying to support an organization or a company or whatever that plays the bias game, because there's no reason for that. There really isn't, and it's everywhere. That's something you have to deal with. The best way you deal with them, you say, have a good day, I'm out the door, lots of luck to you, my friend, but you know what? They'll never get my business. Never, 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 never. And I've had situations like this where I would talk with people and they try to con me into, leaving my vocalist and joining someone else's project. What about my vocalist? And then these people, they'll have a store and they're telling me this stuff, and I'm thinking, why would I want to buy from you when you're trying to break up the project I already have? Why don't work? I mean, I've got no problem being on a waiting list and being maybe number 999, and when I'm like 84 years old, 30 or whatever, you know what I mean? If we project out, which a lot of places, they forecast out their gigs. So if I want a gig for, let's say, New Year's Eve, now is the time. If not, then I do for next year. And then when it's all filled up, well, how about 5 years from now? Let's plan. You plan on being alive 5 years from now, right? But that's how you can tell the bias game. And those are the people I just stay away from. I ask them, but I don't mention their name. And there's something magical when you don't mention the name. They're not even mentioned. No one knows of them. I'm going to give them that support. So, and it's not just me. It's a lot of the locals. Be fair. How hard is that? Right? If it's something that's hard, okay, I'll deal with you. And then when it's slow season, then they chase you down the street and they try to give the best side a ball end of a guitar string from these people, or a guitar pick. Sorry. Everything's fair game in business. I don't play games. I'm not better than anybody. So my point is, you have the bias there, and this is why you have different ways of getting around to get the gigs. And the average musician sometimes doesn't think about this, but then when you want to when you want to put dollars and cents into the equation, there is opportunities that you day shows. So we do a midday show, then we do an evening show, and then we do our cross country shows. And I'll tell you what, a lot of them were senior centers we did cross country. And it was guaranteed money. My wife would have a deposit. You know, they sign a contract. Here's the deposit. We're locked in that date. We go do the gig. They pay us. They'd have the check ready for us. We do our gig. They would ask if I'd stay extra if they were enjoying it, and they'd pay us plus the tips. There were so many times we would have $100 tips, $100 bills, in conjunction with other tips in the jar, in conjunction with the pay, in conjunction with the pay, and them saying, "Hey, can you stay an extra half hour? How much you get charged?" Okay. So we would make out more than what we would initially charge if we would come out making more. And it all comes down to, are you a likable person? Are you easy to work with? And are you fair? And I'll tell you what, that speaks volumes. The fairness speaks volumes. So how does this all equate and merge together with talking about Digitech? Well, again, Digitech came up with some features that if you are a solo musician, you can use their products and do 4 or 5 hour sets, and I've done them and made money. And more importantly, had a good time. And people had a good time. Now, I will say this: when people are playing and they look at someone's not having a good time, maybe they're having a bad day. Don't try not, personal. And I'll tell you, it can be hard because sometimes I do. We're human. But the best way to do that is just ignore it and then just wish them well. That really is the best way. And then they'll remember that, and because maybe that particular day they're having a bad day, right? And then they'll think about it and say, "Hey, so and so was real nice to me. Let me give them a call." So that's how. Chance if they're ridiculously unreasonable to the point where they want you to crawl on your hands and knees and beg them. That will never happen with me, man. I am not desperate for that. There's no way I'm going to degrade myself or my wife, because what I do, my wife, I want her to be proud of me. She's better than me. As far as I'm concerned, she's better than me. But so I don't want to, embarrass her or anything like that. So, but at the same time, I don't want people taking advantage of us and think that we're just a couple of chumps that people could step over. And see, this is why I say you have to stand your ground, and there's ways you can do it politely, but be firm. And I don't want to hear, what star they entertain, because I'll tell you what, I hear a lot that down here, I've heard this before, that John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin comes down to Cape Coral because his mom lives in Cape Coral. And Steve Miller Band comes down, and I think the vocalist from the Planners sings at one of the places down here, and that's all nice, and they're wonderful people, but they're not paying my bills, and this is nothing on. This is the people that use those names to try to dangle over me like a kid in the candy store, and I'm supposed to jump high and beg, and I'm not gonna do that. I will respect, but I will not do that. So again, I could take my Digitech pedals. And since people have a lot of time paying people, oh, it's nice in the UK. Nice, man. Oh, it's a beautiful sunny day in the UK. Now, what part of the UK are you in? My wife's mom is from Birmingham, England. My wife's part British. We have not been to the UK yet. We've been to Ireland. Like a little tiny pub called Buckley's. Little place. It was awesome. And then we played for NATO in Brussels, but we didn't get over to the UK. The best way to do this is try to, again, anywhere in Birmingham or anything like that. We just again have a lot of unpacking to do. We have a nice globe in our world map, but be kind of interesting. I'll tell you what, man. Europe and over in England and Ireland, Scotland. Oh, not okay. Not far from Burm. Okay, nice, Clive. Nice, man. And how are your like gigs and the music scene over there and the music stores? How is it over there? Always give people a chance because I'm the one finger typist, you know. I'd be good in the courtroom, right? From the old days, I forget what they call them, you know, one finger. They'd have to talk really to catch up. You know, I've always been hands on. That's what it is. You know, even with the music. Um, when I do my recordings, I do things out of the output jack or the auxiliaries. You know, I look for that type of a hookup. I've never hooked up anything MIDI, and I have things MIDI. Oh, you stopped gigging in 1988. You know, here's the deal. Here's the deal with the gigs. Everything's kind of, I want to say, a hit or miss, because everything's been changing. Um, with YouTube, the advantage we have with YouTube, we could use this as our platform. Wow, 98, laugh out loud. Wow. Yeah, I met my wife in 1998 in at the Alpine Valley, Wisconsin, at the Ozfest concert, and we've been to every single Ozfest that come through Wisconsin and Illinois in Tinley Park, mostly in Tinley Park because it was closer to us. And the last one that came through was, I believe, 2010. And actually, oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks. And actually, it was the same year that people were claiming that there was a UFO that flew over Tinley Park. And I could kind of vaguely remember, but see, here's the thing: we wanted to get out of the parking lot and beat the traffic because it's horrific, man. It's like gridlock. So when it's like that, and with our Deb and I having CDL license, we got to watch everything. You know, you lightly tap something, and next thing you know, your ticket's double what it would normally be, right? So that's why we're real cautious. So of course, I keep my eyes on the road, my hands on the wheel. You know, and but if there was something flickering, I had to watch the replay, and I guess it was. Mitch Heyman, how are you, my friend? Mr. Mitch, I am hooked up right now to the little Yamaha TH10RC, and I've got my Digitech running through this. And if you ever wanted to run external effects, because all three series of these Yamaha amps, when you turn the knob, which would be your amp selector, when you turn it all the way to what would be the 5 o'clock setting, it's flat response. So, but what you have to do, I think it bypasses the actual amp, but it will not bypass the effects. So you have to turn the effects off. So this is, and this is what I loop. So you might hear the bass. That's run into the guitar. It's ran into the guitar input, but if you take the knob and turn it all the way to 5 o'clock, you should have flat response. Or if you want to run into the auxiliary input, you could do that and just get the 1/8 to quarter-inch adapter, and then boom, you're bypassing everything. Is what you're doing. If you want to run internal effects and things of that nature, these little Yamaha amps are nice. Um, they are a few years old. Little story on how I got this. A guy bought. I had. You know what? No, I had another one of these. Drive, almost the same like this, so it didn't matter. And a chorus pedal. They had the same style knobs because see, look at this is the older style knobs when DoD changed to this casing. Okay, so I want to say this might have been early 1980s, 1979. Because when you're a kid, you're buying everything that's got a guitar on it, right? So I buy this thing. Excuse me, guys. I can, wiring schematics, where to buy the parts, everything. It's like giving you all of the trade secrets. Because I think back then they figured, well, guitar players are, smoking weed and you're lazy and stupid. So what the hell? We'll make money off of selling a book, never thinking that some of them going on and says, hey, I like that, and I'm kind of a geek, and I'm gonna mess around with this stuff, and boom. But I lost the book when I moved, like I lost a lot of things, okay? In conjunction with that, when you bought a guitar amplifier, you get that on the back page would be a wiring schematic. They stopped doing that. I believe on my first crate, 1R, the one that was shaped like a crate box, that was with it. R2, R3 locking nut, how you doing, my... I'm sorry if I apologize of, late saying hi to people. And then again, part 2 is because the AC guy came out because it was hotter than hell in here. Now everything's wonderful. Everything's fixed, no problems. But my PV amps also had, when you bought the amp, you get the foot switch with it and be the wiring diagram. I have to say, I want to make sure I got that right because I don't want Mr. Peavy to get mad at me for saying that, because Mr. Peavy's a great guy. My wife met him and his wife back in the early 90s. She used to have real long dark hair, and boy, nice people. Nice people, So, I don't want to, be going all over the place because it's so easy, because sometimes, thoughts come in my head and boom, I make a left turn and I don't mean to do that. But again, when I was talking about the subject with Digitech and some of the gigs, there's all these opportunities, and I've used these products in these opportunities, so it's how we were able to make money. And a lot of people don't think about this, and they've never even, thought of it, because the whole mindset is this: you get in a band, or you want to get in a band because no one's going to listen to a soloist. You got to have a band, right? And hope for the best, don't expect the worst, because you will succeed. That's not always the case. You have to be prepared. The industry changes, and quite frankly, if the music industry is not, if it's not the worst industry, the most unstable, it's one of them, or one of the top most unstable industries there is, and it's part and due because it's so saturated. I mean, think about it. If you have a job opening at a Home Depot, let's say, or something, and you got 600 people standing in line, well, only 100 of them are going to get hired. And there's a lot of them that are good, right? So, yeah, we hope that Digitech or the engineers or someone could come by and say, hey guys, here, how much money you need? Let's keep the boat floating, Tell you what, if I won the lottery, and of course I got the permission from the missus, well, she probably would too, because she's into gear, she's into the music scene, she loves it, and say, hey, I mean, if we were filthy stinking rich, but we had money aside to do this, it doesn't mean you win the lottery, you spend all your money, and then when you get sick, now you don't have anything, and you're at the county hospital because you blew all your money. Not real smart, right? But if you have extra money to invest and to spend, yeah, it would be something to be able to say, approach Digitech and say, hey, we'd like to buy into the company and help out, I've said this before as far as gigs, and it's something that we've seen the results of, and we saw the truth in this. When you pay your way through this industry, that's one way of for sure getting your foot in the door, because now you are part of what would be the producer. One of the main things a producer does, comes up with the money, Now I know I'm going to get a lot of comments and maybe people disagreeing, and I know there's different parts of that sector, but the main thing is who has the money to float this project, because if there's no money, there's no project, right? So if you have the money, and if you are smart, and what I mean by this, by smart, if you're smart enough that you even know your weaknesses, but someone else is smarter in that department and they're not going to screw you, then you kind of team up a little bit and you delegate your responsibilities and you move forward. That's what my wife and I do. She's more smarter in the business end, so I really don't touch that. But what I do know is from her experience, plus our experience in the trades. R2, 98 degrees. Oh, it's 98 in Chicago? Wow. But I'm going to tell you guys, it gets hot in Chicago in the summertime. It gets hot up in Wisconsin, because They have the taste of Wisconsin up in Kenosha. Plus, I used to play at the Bristol Renaissance Fair. And I'm telling you, man, it would be freaking hot and humid up there. Just as much as it gets down here in Florida. The only difference is we have more hot and humid days down here. But surprisingly, you do get used to it. It maybe it's because it was such a turning point for us to relocate, and things are much better for us down here. So sorry about that, guys. Sometimes a million thoughts come to mind, and I don't want to ignore anybody. This in trade school, but it didn't dawn on me until later. I was watching. I think her name was Tracy Butler explaining this on Channel 7 News, the weather gal, about the dew point. And then when she mentioned dew point, boom, it reminded me of my training in HVAC. Your dew point, when your dew point, let's say it's 76 degrees out, and if your dew point gets above like 72, 74, it's going to be hot. It's going to feel like it's hotter than what it is, because that's that'll dictate your humidity. But man, it could get real hot. And when you relocate, watch your tuning on your guitars. They do slightly alter a little bit, but a lot of times I'll keep them in cases, and thank God it's nothing like drastic. Like I've heard some horror stories where people their Floyd Rose systems are off, and the neck gets twisted, and it's looks like a pretzel and everything. Like I don't know about that when something's going on, but it will affect. It will affect the tuning. It will affect when you do your performance. You just have to kind of get through it. It's something that I also say when in performances, minus honestly forgetting something. And I've done this, so I forgot a part, or I forgot where the melody comes in, or I simply would change guitars that would have 24 frets or 22 frets. You get in that moment, and just that real quick instant, you go to the wrong spot. It happens. And at first I was so reluctant on sharing that with people, and I get to the point, no, let people see this, because so they don't feel like they're the only ones, or they don't feel stupid or anything like that. But it does happen, so always be prepared for it. But one of the worst things that happens is it rains down here. It gets very, very hot. One of the reasons why I picked up this Ibanez, if it's very comfortable, you notice there's no arm contour. I really like that, because I don't have to feel my arm is like this as opposed to this. That's a little bit awkward for me. But because it's a matte finish, when you sweat, it's not as bad as guitars with a finish. And just something you got to be prepared for. So, so let's hope that everything goes well with Digitech and the whole Harman International Corporation with JBL, because I saw this list, and it was a pretty big list, and the names that I remember right off the bat was, Digitech, JBL, Crown, AKG, Martin. Now, a distribution, so when you say Martin, because Martin is the only thing that I know of Martin is guitars. So if anyone's got any, oh yeah, fresh by, yeah, so do I. So do I. I have what's called a finger ease, and it's probably get gook off of the strings, when it gets hot. But sometimes during the moment you're playing live, sometimes you forget about it. It's like, oh crap, I'm halfway through the song, and now I remember that I got, gook on the strings from the sweat. Nice, right? Which is another reason why my theory about a locking system. Anything that will lock at the saddle, when you have, let's say, a 3/16 of an inch with a 90-degree where the string actually goes into the saddle, and you got very little wiggle room right there. The chances, in my theory, I could be wrong, of that breaking is a lot less than when you have, let's say, about an inch wiggle room. And I'm only saying this from experience when I'm sweating, and even I'm playing rhythms, and boom, I pop a string out of nowhere. But I don't remember on any of my locking systems actually breaking a string. And is it because, even though you're sweating bullets, there's very little wiggle room? You know, think about it. It's then you're nice and tight and snug. So how cool would it be for someone? I think there's a company called FU with FU products and pickups and bridges. Oh, Clive. Yep. Maybe, and I think yeah, cold weather too are too. Yeah, will definitely affect. Um, but maybe this guy that is with at FU, a corporation, could come up with some way of having, even for standard bridges, whether it's, I don't say a Les Paul type, but a fixed bridge where it just locks in there and there's not that much. Because I cannot be the only person in the entire universe that'll break a string from sweat. I'm not the only one that sweats. I mean, there's got to be. I hope not. And okay, I use 1 millimeter picks, and I'll use heavier strings, and my picking attack is a lot stronger, but I'll use the exact same setup on these guitars, and for some strange reason, there's no issues. There's no issues on the steel string acoustic because the saddle's plastic or a bone. The same with the nylon string guitars, but it's only my electrics. So maybe someone could come up with something out there to say, hey, this is a good idea, let's try to incorporate it. But getting back with Digitech, we hope that they don't go under. I mean, it's going to be sad. And what we've noticed is that Sweetwater, when Deb went to more of these loop pedals, Sweetwater was out. Now, unless there was a misprint, so if anyone wants to buy these, go ahead and try to contact Sweetwater. The other one we got from Amazon.com. So I've got the one I'm using now that replaced my old one because I still have the old one. So there's two. We got this. This was actually used at Guitar Center. My wife actually picked it up and ordered one from Amazon. So we got 4 of these because essentially this is what I use a lot in my performances. And oh yeah, R2, you say I got rid of your Digitech whammy. You know what I kind of wish? I have the Digitech drop pedal. And what's nice with that is if you play with a singer that is in situations that, can only sing in certain keys, that's cool. It works, The secret is you do have to have a little bit thicker strings when you start dropping real low. You'll get a little bit of wobbling. Not a whole lot, but you'll get a little bit. But Digitech had the whammy DT. And that thing is really cool because you could go up full octave or down full octave and combine the two. If you are a creative person, there's a lot you could do with this stuff. In later videos, I will be showing what I could do with my Roland guitar synthesizer and how, I'll use things in live settings or even just recordings. And I got it on my acoustic as the pickup. I got the Roland pickup on my Breedlove acoustic as well as on my BC Rich Warlock. It took the acoustic guitar to a totally different dimension. And how I got that idea was by watching Al Di Meola use it on his guitar, and I thought, man, he's getting this killer sound with that bass, So when I tried it on my old Yamaha acoustic, it just, boom, it worked great. So I've used that ever since in conjunction with just the acoustic sound. Now, the reason why I'll use all these different effects, to me it's like colors and when you draw. I've been in situations, again, like I said before, I'm doing 4-hour sets, sometimes 5 hours, and as good as a person could be, if you're just like eating noodles, it's just noodles. There's only so much you could do with just plain noodles, right? So if you have a different sound, it kind of alters your thinking a little bit to make things sound fresh, because keep in mind, you're not the only person sitting there making the music. You got other people sitting and listening like, wow, I'm sick and tired of hearing, Romanza again, or Malaguena, or Astorius again. No matter how beautiful it is, let's kind of break it up a little bit sonically. So that's why I'll use, different effects. And it kind of just opened up doors for myself as well. So, again, I didn't mean this part 2 to be long, my friends. I had to cut out on part 1 because the HVAC guy came out to look at the AC units. And again, like I said before, boy, I'm going to be sitting on a gold mine if I got back in the trees. But that's a different subject for a different time. Regulations with the AC, with all the refrigerants, big pain. Big pain. If there's any HVAC guys out there who want to share some of those, let me know how you're getting through all this, because I do know, because I was a contractor. and I know about all the regulations. So it's gonna be coming up. There's always gonna be something else, and there's all the regulations, and it's like kill, 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 kill. You know, it's tough. It's very, very tough. Anyways, my friends, I thank you for tuning back in. And if you want to leave any comments on the reruns, go ahead, because I like people's feedbacks, and no one has to always agree with me all the time. I'm very open on that because I don't know everything. I just know everything from my experience. That's it. So, all right, my friends, I want to let everyone have a great Saturday afternoon. I think we will be streaming our live show later tonight. Usually that does. So until next time, we will see you. You guys stay safe. We thank everyone. I thank all my subscribers. God bless all of you, new ones and old ones. Really appreciate it. If you like this, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell. Get all kind of warnings when it's dinner time, right? And always remember to hold open those doors of opportunity, and always desire to inspire, my friends, and life will always be wonderful. Okay, until next time, stay safe out there, and rock and roll, and God bless, my friends. You take care now. Bye-bye. Oh, wow, cool. Are you sure you want to stop streaming?